Welcome to our three-part series on color grading techniques. In this episode, I'll give you a walkthrough of color grading features in Premiere Pro. In episode 2, I'll take you through the round-trip workflow from Premiere to DaVinci Resolve. And in the third episode, we'll get into fundamentals of how to grade your footage. This tutorial concentrates on Premiere and DaVinci, but a lot of fundamentals of color grading are universal. So even if you're using a different software, these episodes will still be useful to you. I have a timeline open in Premiere, and it's edited down. If the only corrections you'll make are tweaks to exposure and color temperature, sometimes staying in Premiere is best. To do that, we'll use a great little tool Adobe bundles with Premiere called Lumetri. There are two ways to get to it. Either you can choose Lumetri from the effects list, apply it to a clip, and make adjustments under Effect Controls here. Or you can select the Color tab at the top of the screen to bring up your color grading workspace. When we do that, Premiere will automatically select the clip under your playhead and give you Lumetri corrections on the right-hand side. Your next step is to make sure your Lumetri scopes are visible over here on the left. If you're new to these scopes, they're very powerful once you learn how to read them, so let's go over that now. Normally, your default's a waveform monitor. The y-axis goes from 0, or pure black, to 100, pure white. The waveform left to right corresponds to your image left to right. Over here, these bright areas represent a bright background behind our subject, and the lower or darker areas on the right correspond to the blacks and browns to the right of the image. If you right-click, you can choose other scope options. Parade separates out the red, green, and blue waveforms side by side, and the vector scope gives you an idea of where your image falls on the color wheel. Notice when I make the color temperature cooler, the blue waveform is much higher than the other colors, and the vector scope trends toward blue. And likewise, if I warm the image up, the reds take over. It's a useful tool for finding a neutral white point. If you have any white areas in your image, you'll know your hue and color temperature are correct when the red, green, and blue waveforms look just about equal. And notice what happens when I dial the contrast up and down. The waveform spreads out as the darks get darker and the whites get brighter. The waveform is your most reliable tool, regardless of what monitor you're using to view your images, because displays all differ in brightness and color, but the scope doesn't lie. Now, let's take a look at the adjustments you have available. Here on the right, you can add a LUT, see our episode on raw, log, and uncompressed footage for more on that. And you can make major corrections such as color temperature, hue, exposure, contrast, and sliders for your different areas of luminance. You can also add a creative look in this next tab, change the curves, and more. Traditionally, though, these color wheels down here are the main tools of the trade for professional colorists. Case in point, this is a professional control panel like you'd find in post-production houses. Notice it's all built around those wheels. Premiere is a good tool for basic correction, and the big advantage is you can keep editing after you've graded your footage. But here's where it gets clunky. Each of these grades is applied to your clip as an effect. Say you want to copy a grade across all the clips. Great. All you have to do is choose the clip you've graded, right-click, and copy. Then, select the others and choose Paste Attributes. And there you go. It's copied all your effects. But now, over here, all our clips are too warm. Let's match them. Here in the Color Wheels and Match tab, we can choose Comparison View, which allows us to view two clips either side by side or in split screen. With two clips up, we can select Match, and Lumetri will match them for us. That's a great shortcut, but what if you want to apply those changes to the other clips? If I repeat the same process we just did, it copies another Lumetri effect on top of the one we already had. To change these clips after you've applied a grade, the only option is to remove all the effects and reapply the newly adjusted version of your effect. You do this by selecting all your clips, right-clicking, and choosing Remove Attributes, making sure Effects is checked, and then copying your corrected Lumetri effect to them all over again. It's not elegant. One workaround is to create an adjustment layer and place it over all your clips. Then add your Lumetri effect to the adjustment layer, and it'll apply that grade to the footage underneath it. Then you can cut and change that adjustment layer as needed. But it's still not really a professional color workflow, and here's a really big reason. Premiere isn't a color-managed application. What this means is your footage won't look the same in Premiere as it will on the web or in your final output. This is how the footage looks in QuickTime Player. Notice how different that is. And here it is uploaded to the web. It's washed out, it lacks contrast. There are whole episodes we can do on why this happens. It's really technical, it's very, very hard to fix. But in essence, it all comes down to the fact that Premiere is meant for editing, it's not necessarily meant for color grading, and so it's not color managed. I'm told Final Cut is color managed. I don't use it, but I'll take their word for it. But if you're using Premiere, this is why DaVinci Resolve is such an important tool for color grading. For more elegant workflow with more advanced features like masking and tracking, DaVinci Resolve is the way to go. One big disadvantage to DaVinci is that you can't go back and edit your film very much after it's graded. DaVinci really should be your last step. So normally, I use Lumetri in an adjustment layer while I'm editing, and once the edits are finalized, Then I'll head to DaVinci. In the next episode, I'll walk you through the workflow of making that round trip from Premiere to DaVinci and back. Thanks for watching.